Hello and welcome to Nature and Environment. And today we're going to talk about the crossings that take place on the Mediterranean Sea to Europe and also look at the dangers associated with these adventures. Now, the question you ask me is, why do people do this in the first place? Well, I think there are a number of reasons, and they include: one, seeking protection, fortune, or opportunity. Now, before I look at my topic of the day, I will touch a bit on historical stuff. However, I'll be working my historical stuff around 1900 upwards. So in 1907, 1,001 Japanese moved from Japan to Hawaii and continued their journey all the way to Vancouver in Canada. In 1978, 1,002 Vietnamese ended up in Indonesian waters. A month later, 2005 Vietnamese also ended up in Malaysian waters. This would give you an idea that the movement of people across oceans, seas to other countries is not a new phenomenon. But the recent concentration is between Africa and Europe and Southern Asia and Australia. Now, my focus will be on Mediterranean Sea, and I'm going to break my topic down into three major components. So the first one will be physical features. The second one will be on wind formation, and the third one will be on hygiene and dehydration. So physical features. This is what is called the Mediterranean Sea. It is surrounded with 22 countries. The northern part of it is where we have the European countries. And once you end here, it connects to Asia. And then all the way down here, once you get over here to Egypt, moving down here, all the way here are all African countries. This Mediterranean Sea has three inlets or outlets. That's the way I put it for now. Now, so one is here, we call it Strait of Gibraltar. And then we have the Suez Canal here. And then we have Dardanelles. The Strait of Gibraltar is the only natural channel connecting the Atlantic Ocean to that of the Mediterranean Sea. It is measured 15 kilometers wide by 50 kilometers long. Now, if you move here, we also have the Suez Canal here, which was constructed in 1969, and it connects the Red Sea to that of the Mediterranean Sea. Then when we come here, we have the Dardanelles. The Dardanelles also connect the Black Sea to the Sea of Marmara, and by extension connect the Aegean Sea to that of the Mediterranean Sea. Now, the Mediterranean Sea covers a surface area of 2.5 million square kilometers. Now, at this point, people don't really appreciate units and measurement. So I'll break it down so that we really get what is going on here. So Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Nigeria, Cameroon combined will be smaller than the surface area we are talking about here. So assume you are in middle of what? Ghana. somewhere around Ekura or Techiman, and the rest of Ghana is surrounded with water, will you be able to make your way out to a major landmark, even if you're a good swimmer? Or assume you are in somewhere around Boake or Yamoussoukro, and the rest of Ivory Coast is surrounded with water. Will you be able to make your way out? Or you are around Banga in Liberia, and then the rest of Liberia is surrounded with water. Will you be able to make your way out to a major landmark? Or you are somewhere around Abuja and the rest of Nigeria is surrounded with water. Will you be able to make your way to a major landmark? Or lastly, you have located yourself somewhere in Yaoundé and the rest of Cameroon is surrounded with water. Will you still be able to make your way, swim, and then make your way to a major landmark? By the time we are finished with this conversation, all these questions will be self-answered. Okay, now let's look at the depth of the Mediterranean Sea. Averagely, it's around 1,005 meters, but the deepest part is over 4,300 meters, which is somewhere here. So again, I will explain to you what I mean by meters. So now, if you find yourself on a standard football field and then you run from one end to the other lengthwise, you have covered 100 meters. So multiply this by 50 and that will give you 1,005 meters. And now turn that thing vertical and see whether you'll be able to swim a water at this depth. Let's move on. We also have a number of sea mammals that are also found here. We have the whales, we have the dolphins, we have the sharks. They are all over here. So if you're on a boat, if you're on the balloon, and then any of these sea mammals can run into you, and at times they can also be dangerous. Assume your boat also sinks. Assume you don't know how to swim and you are trapped in the middle of this sea. How are you going to survive? My next component will be on wind formation. There are so many winds that have been formed in the Mediterranean region, but I will only speak to one, which is Sirocco. Why Sirocco? Sirocco occurs between August and November, and this is when most of the crossings are being done from Africa to Europe. Sirocco takes its source from Arabian and Saharan desert. Now let's look at how it comes about. But before I do that, someone would ask, what is the difference between air and wind? They are related, but they are not the same, technically. Wind is air movement, resulting because of air pressure difference or temperature difference. Now let's see what happens. In the Sahara or Saharan region, what happens is that there's a lot of sun energy over here. So the air masses over here, they get warm. And once they get warm, they move towards the northern part, or they move towards higher or mid latitudes. Now, as they are being drawn in by the low pressure cell, once they get into the Mediterranean Sea over here, these air masses pick moisture, and then the air masses, or the movement or the speed of the air masses, will also be slowed down by the body of the water. and we'll refer to that as friction. Again here, what happens is that usually the air masses, they move in a straight line, or we can say a straight path. But as they move towards the low cell areas, what happens is that the earth also rotates on its axis, and that will cause the wind to deviate from their path. And this process is also called Coalesce Effect. Now, at this point here, we usually have low pressure cells. So the low pressure cells, the friction, and the Coalesce Effect will interact together, and that will cause the air masses here to converge. And as they converge, they move in counterclockwise direction, as you can see over here, towards the eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea. Now, the wind that is being generated here, or the Sirocco, could reach a speed of 100 km per hour. Again, I'll break it down. Usually, what happens is that when we are driving in an urban place, the speed between 40 km to say 50 km per hour. But once we hit the highways, we do speed up to 100 km per hour, or even slightly higher than that. At this point, what is the relationship between this and the crossings, and then all that? Now, using default speed interpretation, you would realize that any speed above 89 km per hour can be described as being stormy, being violent, or it can also be described technically as well being a hurricane. So the boat and the balloons that are being used to cross from northern part of Africa to the southern part of Europe cannot withstand this wind velocity, and it may end up in disaster when people are trapped in this condition. The last point I want to touch on has to do with hygiene and dehydration. And you would realize here that most of the contractors that put together this journey, they do it in a very haphazard way. So at the end of the day, people are crowded on board. They find it difficult to move around on the boat, and it is difficult for them to do basic sanitation. Assume somebody has any communicable disease and the person gets on the boat, all the people on the boat will be affected before they get to their destination. Now let's look at the other component. Because they don't have enough space even on the boat, they are not able to take along basic provisions. So people get hungry, people get thirsty, and those who will not be able to withstand this condition for a very long period will end up being dead. The other aspect that I want to touch on has to do with what? Dehydration. And during this period is where evaporation is very high in the Mediterranean region. They would lose a lot of water. They will become dehydrated. And if you will not be able to bear this condition, you may pass out before even reaching your final destination. Looking at all the factors that I have discussed over here, I can confidently say that this journey is a combination of fear, sadness, hope, and excitement. In conclusion, if you ask for my opinion, I would say that stay where you are, get the proper documentation, and move to any country that you want to settle in. However, the choice is yours. Like my page, do subscribe, follow, and share. And thank you.